Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 22nd of November, year of our Lord 2020-24. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Moton Noah. I said the date out loud, and it clicked. I have not thought about this entire month. Hey, No Shave November. How's that going for you guys? I just realized the day that this is going to release was Kennedy killed on the 22nd or the 23rd. I think it was the 23rd. So on Saturday, not here in America, Saturday will happen internationally. I think for the first time ever, the entire world will experience November 23rd, 2024. Well, yes, the whole world. Fucking shut up. Get to the rest of the show. I'm in a weird mood. Today, and it's been going on for like 24 hours because we taped the shoot around on Wednesday, and I just had a bad show. It was something that happened like in the middle of the episode. I don't know what it was, but the wires in my brain got crossed, and I channeled a previous version of myself. Like when you guys are like, oh man, Motown Noah, when you would like get wine drunk and stand in front of a broken closet and make fun of, man, that was the golden years. That was the Motown Noah that I fell in love with. Like that iteration of myself, I kind of like the very combative and just like bitchy version of myself. I kind of reverted back to that. And I worked very hard to kill that version of myself. Even though I am still those things, I just do it in a more controlled way these days where it's like it's more calculated most of the time. And it just kind of came out, and it's been really messing with me ever since. So I don't really know. There's zero chance that we do the full 60 minutes today. If I do, it is an act of an omnipotent power if I manage to do the full 60 today. It's been just so much stuff rattling around in my brain, and I just didn't like that. Like, it was so bad that I don't even want people to watch the episode because I'm like, and I'm not reading the comments on that one because, like, this may sound narcissistic, but I just know people are going to be like, Nick is a fucking asshole, and why is he on this show? And I know that even me saying this is going to drive people to go, this is not a marketing ploy by me to tell you this is not reverse psychology. Don't listen to the show, and you're like, well, maybe I'm going to go check it out. I wish you wouldn't, honestly, because you might not even realize it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. You know, here's something for the fellas out there. Talking to the fellas, I'm only talking to the boys right now. The male constituency of the Coping Hour. You guys want a life hack? You guys want to know something funny? I learned this the other day. Found a little cheat code. So we usually wake up with our son like between 6:30 and 7 every morning. And the other day, something inside of me was like, I don't want cereal right now for breakfast. I want buffalo mac and cheese. That's what I wanted in that moment. So I was like, I can't just make that this early in the morning without my girlfriend being like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing eating buffalo mac and cheese for breakfast? It's 7 in the morning. What are you doing? So I had an idea. And I said to her, hey, sweetheart, I have 2 ideas for breakfast for myself. I have 2 options. Pick number 1 or number 2, blindly, without knowing what they are. And she happened to pick the one that in my head was the buffalo mac and cheese. So I put the ball in her court so that way if she did say anything, then she could not confront me about it because it's like, you told me to eat this, basically. She did not end up saying anything about it. But I did. You fellas out there, you get what I'm saying? So if you want to eat some horse shit for breakfast, just put it in your significant other's hands in the same way, using the same framing that I did in that instance, and then you can eat some buffalo mac and cheese. But that's been another problem that I've been having is I was hooping the other day. I went outside. So we live right next to a high school, and they have like, a bunch of courts outside. So I just took the ball, and I just went and hooped, and so I'm like kind of getting my shit off, and I'm just like, I don't feel good doing this. Like I don't physically, like I just don't feel good. And I was also kind of like, why am I doing this? Like there are no 12-year-olds around here to like punk, And so there's no one to be like non-shooter, like do that bullshit to me. And then the next day I woke up, I'm super sore and whatever. And I think that what I realize is the problem that I'm facing right now is that I eat like Donald Trump, like straight up. Like him and I have the same fucking diet. And my biggest fear that has been slowly growing these last few weeks specifically, I don't know where this came from, is kidney stones. I'm really, really worried that one day I'm going to get kidney stones because it seems like an inevitability, again, with the way that I eat. And I know that a big source of like how that manifests inside of your body is a high sodium diet. And I do eat a lot of sodium because pretty much everything that I eat is frozen, because it's a lot easier for me to just pop something in the microwave or pop something in the oven than it is to like actually, like make something when I spend most of my day, every single week, just like taking care of my son. Like that's basically all that it is. And so Maddie was explaining to me, she's like, that's what it is. And so we were at the grocery store the other day, and we're like actually looking at the nutritional value of a bunch of different stuff, just for posterity. So I can get like a rough idea of what I actually put in my body. And the thing that I eat for breakfast almost every single day, which is not buffalo mac and cheese, that was a one-off thing that I was like, this sounds pretty good. I don't care what time it is. The thing that I eat every single day one serving of it accounts for 49% of my daily sodium intake. 49%. The same guy who a week ago, we went to the grocery store and I was like, queen-sized stuffed pimento olives. Sounds pretty good right now. And I crushed the jar in like a day. You know how much sodium that is? So I had like this awakening of like, what am I putting in my body? Like, what am I actually doing here? And so I'm just worried I'm going to get... Now, I'm not taking any steps to stop this from happening, but I am clocking it as a legitimate issue, right? We talked to the fellas of the Coping Hour. Let's talk to the ladies for a second. This is coming to me in real time. Don't want you guys to feel left out. All you ladies sitting there next to your man in the car, passenger princesses. I don't know. Maybe you're like me, and your relationship is such that the man is the passenger princess. I love that shit so much. I love sitting in the passenger seat, just being like da 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 da. Sitting in the car for 4 hours. I don't have to do any of this. Da, da, da. It's my favorite thing in the world. Love being a passenger prince. Any fellas out there can relate to that. Anyways, ladies, let's talk to you guys for a second. Did you guys know that because there are so few women, like product designers, product engineers in the world, this is a global issue. This is not just prevalent in North America and the United States. Because there are so few product engineers that are women, like most of the shit that is like just specific to you guys was not actually designed by your own sex. It's men. Like vibrators. Vibrators, that's not women. That was not women who invented those for like the longest time. Now at this point, women have sort of infiltrated the space. But like anatomically for so long, like they were just fucked up. Because there's like men like didn't know. They were just like, it just has to go and they dust their hands and they're like, we're good with that. Sorry, grandma, but I'm a newsman and I have to cover the news, and this is news, right? That men just don't understand, again, anatomically, like what's going on? What's a vulva? What's going on? What's another one? Breast pumps originally designed by men. And so you're completely eliminating the user experience out of it, right? And they're just like, well, it has to do this thing. And maybe this is a little bit invasive for me to say. Like Maddie didn't just have to try one breast pump, because like I don't know how to describe exactly what it is that makes them bad without, again, being a little bit invasive, but it wasn't just one, right? Because they're not all that great. What's another thing? Pads invented by a woman. Pads were invented by a woman and invented by a nurse. And then eventually I think it was Johnson & Johnson that picked them up. And they're like, this is a good idea. Women do menstruate, don't they? They're like, we never thought of it that way, that women do menstruate. The uterine lining does actually shed once a month. We should adopt this. And the nurse was like, cool. But tampons originally, a guy. He was just a fucking guy. He was a doctor. He was a physician, I think. A doctor, a physician. If you're a doctor, does that mean you're a physician? I think it does. I think. Going to my physician the other day. That means you went to the doctor. We have a lot of lawyers who listen to this show. I don't know if there are that many doctors that listen. Somebody will give me don't inform me on which is. No, you can let me know. Actually, that information is pertinent and would help disparage or diffuse rather any future confusion on this subject. Don't know how often we're going to be talking about doctors versus physicians. But anyways, yeah, he was just like, hey, these women keep showing up and they're like, there's a lot of blood. And he's like, we need to alleviate this issue. I'm going to invent something. He's like, here's some cotton and here's a string. But it was a guy. This is straight up a dude. So, ladies, if you're out there, we get a lot of emails from guys who are like, man, I'm directionless right now. I'm 19 and I don't know what to do. And I'm always just kind of like, just hang out for a few years and you'll figure it out. Because too often we are rushed into these major life decisions when we are like 18 or 19 years old. You go to college, you go to a 4-year university, and you just like have to decide what the rest of your life is going to be like. And I'm like, no, fuck that. Just like chill for a little bit. You know what I mean? If you are a woman and you are facing the same issue, I will not, well, you can chill out for a little bit for sure. But like look into like product engineering. Be like, what is the space that I need to infiltrate that like there's a, like women need more ingenuity in this field. I don't know. Because otherwise you're just like letting dudes figure out what breast pumps work and like what tampons work and like what vibrators work. That's girlhood basically is breast pumps, tampons, and vibrators. That's like basically what it is, right? That's like what it means to be a woman in 2020. We were talking about that earlier because we were watching one of those Jubilee videos. I don't remember which one it was. Oh my God. It was the craziest one. They were ranking, and grandma, this is actual content on the internet. I'm not just being crass for the sake of being crass. It was 3 like women. One of them was a sex expert. She was a sex coach. And they were ranking 8 different men based on how big it was. And then you actually had like real science at the end. I guess they had a physician, we just learned that term, like measure it in a room. They're like soft and hard. This is where and the women had to try and guess correctly. It was not nearly as horny as it sounded. It was actually like, I don't know, it's kind of, where was I going with this? Oh, one of the ways that the women were trying to discern how big it was for each individual guy was asking them their respective opinion on what masculinity actually means. Like, what does that mean as an ideal philosophically to you, like masculinity? And I said to her, I was like, I have no fucking idea. I was like, this is going to sound really dumb. I've never just like thought about that question because I myself am someone who's like a very confident in my sense of masculinity, but I was like, I don't know what that actually entails. And then one of the guys up there who just so happened to be the only gay guy that was on the panel was like, sexuality is a spectrum. And he's like, and as long as you are true to yourself and true to I don't remember what horse shit he said, but I was actually like, yeah, what that guy said. I was like, that's actually true. And Maddie was basically like, she just used it as a reflection moment for us and the stuff that she makes me do that she doesn't want to do. So like masculinity to my girlfriend is cleaning up after our dog or taking out the trash. Or like, what was another one that she said? I don't remember what it was. And then for her, girlhood or femininity is having a 9-to-5. Because I don't, but she does. And I'm butchering this because she said some other funny stuff and I don't remember what it was. God damn, what are we, 15 minutes into the start of this episode? The guy who a couple episodes ago was like, Nick, I wish, the show, by the way, is not in decline, but I wish that you would talk about just sports. Like, shut up and dribble, like, just talk about sports. Because when you go off the rails and you talk about, like, real-world shit, it's really cringe to listen to your fucking opinions on it. That guy's having a fucking horrible show so far. But what I really appreciated was that guy got jumped in the comments. That felt amazing to see. I love having a constituency who will raise arms against rogue commenters who just say, like, dumb shit. Because that guy leaves that comment, and I don't really mix it up with like motherfuckers in the comments anymore because I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But I was like, we just got out of a 3-month period where there was literally nothing going on. And we spent 45 minutes talking about how Donald Trump was almost shot in the head on national television. I didn't see that guy mixing it up in the comments talking about like, shut up and dribble. I didn't shut up and talk into a microphone. I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about that from that guy. So folks, what do you say we do get this thing started and we get on the road here? Do we want to do emails now? No, let's do some like miscellaneous. Let's do some miscellaneous NBA notes. I make a joke recently quite frequently about how we spent like 3 episodes talking about Philly sports and like what like perspectives from their fans and how they're perceived and how sometimes they think it's in a very unfavorable light. And the truth is that I don't actually care, but the perspectives are still interesting. And that I mainly just wanted to move off of Philly sports. And I was like, can we just stop talking about this city? I don't care about most of their teams. But try as I like to not do that, Philadelphia finds a way. I feel like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Philadelphia finds a way. And what I'm talking about here is the fact that Joel Embiid, once again, finding himself in national headlines because the Philadelphia 76ers had to have a team meeting called on behalf of the team, but Kyle Lowry called it. He was like, we need to have a team meeting. The game that they played against Miami was the biggest farce I've ever seen in my fucking... That team is not trying right now. That team is not trying at all. And was it before or after that game that Embiid was like, Jimmy Butler is the best player I've ever seen in my life? We'll get to that in a second. Let's put a pin in that because we're going to circle back in just a minute. So Kyle Lowry's like, and him and his dump truck picks our mom ass is like, we need to have a team meeting. And Tyrese Maxey is like, Joel Embiid, you're late to everything. It starts with you, brother. Like, if we're going to make this work, it starts from you. The fish rots from the head, right? So when you're just showing up late to practice and all these engagements, it's like a reflection on the culture that we have here in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid's response to that, like a day later, was to be like, whoever leaked this, I'm going to fucking kill. So he didn't get it. So Joel Embiid didn't get the message. The whole accountability thing, that was just lost on him. And you're going to be like, well, it's one thing to like hear that and absorb it, but it's a whole nother thing when you're like troll Embiid as it is, right? And people already give you shit for literally everything. And then to have something like this go public just kind of adds an unnecessary log to the fire. Because that is the truth of this. Is like, we didn't technically need to have this go public. Like, whoever leaked it, right? Which is that's like the B story to this whole thing, is people are really invested in how this information got out. For some reason, and I haven't been able to explain this to myself or justify it, like, why don't I care about that? To me, it doesn't actually matter. And I think it's more so just a reflection on how I view this shit. Is like, I don't always care about the why. I just care about that it did. Does that make sense? Like, how we got there doesn't matter. It just matters that we did. And where we did get with this was that the Sixers are in flux. This is a watershed moment for the Philadelphia 76ers. Call a team meeting. And the other piece of this is that I like about it so much is that it's truly the most relatable thing that I've seen happen in the NBA in a considerably long time. A group of 15 or so guys get together, a friend group gets together, and they say, hey, friend number one, you're kind of a fucking asshole. You're kind of a bad dude. Your vibes aren't always that great, and you need to change or we're going to break up with you and kick you out of the friend group. You don't see that often in the NBA, but that's what we're seeing here. So between this and was it Marcus Hayes? Was that the journalist's name that like seemingly everybody hates, and then Joel Embiid almost killed his motherfucking ass in the locker room, allegedly? That is what there are many such cases of people saying that Joel Embiid almost killed a journalist in the Philadelphia 76ers locker room. So you have that, and then he gets suspended while he's hurt, and then he like gets hurt while he's suspended, and then he steps onto the court. He finally starts playing this season because he missed the first like 8 games, and he stinks. He's just not good. Paul George goes out there. He hyperextends the same knee that he hyperextended in the preseason. I did not watch the clip this time because I was like, the first clip sucked. I'm tired of watching Paul George injuries. We're 10 years removed from him crashing into the stanchion and his leg just completely snapping in half. At this point, I've seen different, completely unrelated Paul George injuries combined. If they were on a timeline in Premiere Pro, I've seen more individual, unique Paul George injuries than I have seen the Zapruder film, which is the same clip that it's always been. John Fitzgerald Kennedy getting shot in the head in Dallas, Texas. Way more. I've seen the Paul George shit way more times. This guy gets hurt constantly. He's getting paid, $200 million until he's 38 years old. Whoops. People are mad that he posted a podcast about it. It was very funny to see, like, just as a snapshot in time of like player podcasts and like where we're at with that. I think maybe we've said some unfavorable stuff about player podcasts, not just as it relates to the NBA, but in the 4 major North American sports as a whole. Said some not nice stuff about them. I'm not really going to backpedal on that, but I think it's good because we learn that 90% of these guys are like profoundly boring. And that, well, in a lot of ways, they are just kind of like us because they don't have anything to say. They don't have that many insightful things to say. And Paul George is just, unless you're like Jeff Teague, Paul George is just going to be like, so what was your welcome to the league moment? Wow. Holy shit. Thank you, Playoff P, for this. This is supposed to be about Joel Embiid, but I guess it sort of has a. And then the other piece of this is like, Daryl Morey kind of hasn't caught any flack for this. What digital spaces are you hanging out in? Are you seeing people get mad at Daryl Morey, being like, not even mad at him, but just like making fun of him for this? How is he not catching any flack for this? I say that and I ask that question, but I'm actually very happy that it's not happening because Daryl Morey is like, to me, the guy. That is is Daryl Morey my white whale of an interview? He's up there. I don't know. I don't want to stamp it and say he's number 1, but I would put Daryl Morey in my top 5 of like, if I could get this guy for 30 minutes. I would ask the best questions and I would invoke the best responses. I know that for a fact. I love Daryl Morey. And so I'm actually happy that he hasn't been villainized because Joel Embiid is just kind of doing it himself. So I think I started to pose this question a minute ago and then I fucking just didn't ask the actual question. We're seeing this timeline of events, this domino effect happen in Philadelphia with Joel Embiid, and you wonder, is this the start of a breakup? Now, we just got done doing it with Giannis. That stuff is still kind of ongoing, but also Milwaukee is actually, they're winning games now. They're like, 4-1 in their last 5? Are they 5-0, 4-1? Whatever it is, like they're actually winning games. Already people are like, oh, well, maybe Giannis will stay. Whatever, man. We'll get there when we get there with that. But the Embiid thing, this is an ongoing thing. Like in the situations, they're apples and oranges, right? They're not, comparatively, they're just not the same thing. So then I'm just like kicking around, like, could they trade Joel Embiid? And I don't think they're going to do that in the short term. I don't even know if they're going to do that in the long term. I think we're like wait until Joel Embiid finds out who actually gave the scoop to Shams and what his response is to that. Like, how does he retaliate against that guy? Then maybe we're on a collision course of like Joel Embiid getting traded. What does that look like? Well, we mentioned the Jimmy Butler stuff. He was like, I love Jimmy. They were teammates at one point. So, like, I don't think it's this. But if you're the Sixers, who says no? If you're like, bring, 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 Pat Riley. Is he geriatric at this point? What the fuck is going on with Pat Riley? Bring, bring, bring. Daryl Morey says that before the phone is still bringing when he says that, like, to his, like, secretary. He's like, what's going on with Pat Riley? Is he, like, what's going on? Is he good? Is he conscious? Like, is he in his Joe Biden era? He's good? Okay. And then as he gets to the Joe Biden era, Pat Riley picks up the phone. Bam Adebayo for Joel Embiid, straight up, 1-for-1. Who says no to that? Miami, right? Like, unequivocally, Miami says no to that. I don't think they do that. It's fun to think about, though. Is there framework there at all, do you think, sending Joel Embiid to Miami? Because if Miami is the villainous team that they have kind of embraced themselves as for the last, how long has Jimmy been there? 4 or 5 years? Yeah, Joel Embiid to the mix there. Does it reinvigorate Jimmy Butler in some way? I don't know. Maybe it could. Send, like, Caleb Martin's ass back there because he should have re-signed with them. He didn't. I don't know. Maybe not. Well, if you're having this conversation, you have to talk about Oklahoma City. You just got to talk about them. But in that, just from a capital perspective, right? But I don't think they do that. If they could right now, maybe just because no Chet and they don't have Hartenstein. So like, And Philly's not getting Chet Holmgren in that deal anyways. You might get Jalen Williams, like one of them. One of them's playing center right now, right? The bigger one's playing center right now. Which one is that? I'll never get this right, by the way. I will never figure this out. I will never go out of my way to discern which one is which. I know that I like one of them a lot. Is it Jaylin? Is that the one who's like, whoa, 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 whoa? He's like accessoried out. Like, I love the accessories that he wears. He wears like a sleeve and like tape. And sometimes he wears like one leg sleeve, which is a whole other goddamn conversation. I'm so fucking offended that people think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander invented shooting sleeve on one arm, leg sleeve on the opposite leg. Motherfucker, go back to 2018, 2019, look at what Blake Griffin was wearing, and come back to me on that one. Shut the fuck up. So, okay, so let's get back on the road here. It's probably not Oklahoma City. It's probably not. Because even if they did want to do that, are you trusting it? Are you trusting the process of a Joel Embiid type character who is not just explosive in his personality, but also his body is particularly explosive? And I think Oklahoma City kind of prides themselves on like having a bunch of durable guys. Like the Chet Holmgren injury kind of feels 1 in a million. Like he just got fucked up. Like that was a hard fall that he took. He played 82 games last season. You know what I mean? That's the concern with dudes who are that big, especially like when they don't have that much weight on them, like a guy like Chet Holmgren doesn't have, is how injury prone they're going to be. Chet Holmgren played 82 games. People have hypothesized even before he got into the league, like, is Victor Wembanyama just going to be like a piece of paper in the wind in the NBA? Not really. It's not really how that's gone. Although they did beat Oklahoma City without Wembanyama. That happened, right? I didn't get CC Sabathia on that. That did happen, I think. Who's another team we could throw in there? You want to get, like, weird? I haven't thought about this at all. This is one of those in real time ones. If I'm Orlando? Is that too weird with Paolo and Joel Embiid? God damn. You want to talk about an injury? A lot of stars in the NBA that are hurt right now. KD's got a calf strain. Luka's got something going on with his wrist. Chet Holmgren's hip is out. Paul George hyperextended his knee again. Paolo Banchero? Zion, is he still hurt? Paolo Banchero? Torn oblique? Oh, that is like otherworldly pain that I can't even imagine. Zion's injury kind of pissed me off just because I was really trying hard not to lean into the Ozempic shit. Because I was like, that's just not nice for me to do that. I was like, yeah, he lost a lot of weight like really fast. But like, don't just assume that somebody's taking Ozempic just because that's like the flavor of the year. And that's what people in a position like his, if they need to lose a lot of weight really fast, that's what they do. Yeah, but also if you don't stay on top of your shit, you will form like muscle dystrophy. And so, but then it's like, you don't think Zion has a workout regimen? It's not even that. I'm just like, you know what I mean? This is why I don't even really want to get in the weeds with it, because like I don't want to think about it too hard because I don't actually believe it. But it's just like the give and take of, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze on this joke? Zion Williamson got hurt because he took too much Ozempic and didn't keep up in enough. You know what I mean? Nah, probably not. It's probably not that. Joel Embiid to the Pels? No, I don't think so. To the Hornets? No, I don't think so. What the hell do you do with him? What do you do with the guy? If you're the Nets? No. No, I don't think so. What's another NBA note that I have from around the league? I didn't talk about this. I meant to, and I forgot to do it, and then I did it on the shoot around. I'm going to do it again here. Hey, so early season candidate for hashtag, that might be the funniest thing we've seen this season. It's a very wordy hashtag, but, you know. So like a week ago at this point, the Blazers are playing a Ja Morant-less Memphis Grizzlies team. And they get, smacked, like beat down of the century. You've never seen anything like this in your life. Brutal. They go like 4 for 55 from 3. Like they don't hit any shots. I don't think they had a single starter in double digits. It was brutal. Chauncey Billups goes up to the podium. Mr. Big Shot himself. I'm not even embellishing this at all. This is actually what he said. He was like, this team is a bunch of sorry-ass motherfuckers. These guys are soft as shit, and they fucking suck. He was like, if you can sleep tonight, you're a fucking loser. You're a loser if you can sleep tonight after a loss like this. Whoa. Blazers fans may not like Chauncey Billups that much. Very divisive figure in Portland right now. Trailblazers Reddit can't really seem to figure out, can't really make heads or tails of the whole situation. But for the most part, they liked that fire out of their coach because it was like, wow, he's actually really pissed about this. But then it's like, you can be pissed about it, but how does your team respond to it? You know? Pretty well. They beat the Timberwolves twice. immediately. And then I think went on a 3-game win streak. They beat the Timberwolves twice. Twice? Yeah, twice. Huh? So that was cool. That was cool to see. What else is going on in the NBA? Asar Thompson cleared to return to play for the Detroit Pistons. Whoa, haven't talked about that yet. Gotten a lot of emails asking me to do, Nick, what about Nick's Pistons? Pistons playing pretty well recently. Yeah, they're all in my good graces. I have literally zero quarrels with any of them. Especially Tobias Harris, who may have single-handedly tanked the Philadelphia 76ers. That's the whole piece of this thing that we haven't even discussed. Talk about a glue guy. Tobias Harris leaves Philadelphia, and the wheels completely fall off of the whole operation. Meanwhile, the Pistons are kind of on a rocket right now. Speaking of rockets, did you guys see? So Joe Biden approved United States manufactured missiles being launched deep into Russian territory on behalf of Ukraine. They're like, yeah, you can use our long-range missiles. That's fine. And so Zelensky was like, word. And so they did that. It's the United States and UK manufactured missiles. They were like, green light, go ahead, use them. If you need them, go ahead. So they did that. And then Russia, as of this taping, this morning, Thursday morning, fires a bunch of ICBMs into Ukraine at like 5 o'clock in the morning. They hit a rocket manufacturing like company, like their warehouse. The video is the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. It looks like an alien invasion. There are a couple angles of it, but I think this one is the coolest one that gives, not coolest, but you know what I mean, gives you the biggest scope of it. You might be thinking, Nick, why don't they explode? Isn't that the whole point of ICBMs, is that they're supposed to explode? So I guess the word on it right now, this is what Reuters told me, was that they did not include, like the warheads weren't attached because Russia doesn't have any that aren't nuclear, and they weren't trying to make a nuclear statement. So they were just relying on kinetic damage, like the sonic speed of these intercontinental ballistic missiles hitting this facility at the speeds that they are, hoping that disrupts it enough that they can't. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that the video looks any less insane. And not to be, I don't really think it's like I don't know. If you ask that JP Morgan guy, he's like, yeah, World War III actually already started. He's like, there are 2 major conflicts happening in the world. Not like Syria gassing its own citizens, or like Sudan facing a genocide, or like a civil war, or like anything that happens in Venezuela or South America at all. Not those things, but the things that we care the most about are the ones that are happening in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, and in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. And he's like, we've also seen that an axis has formed from these conflicts. And that axis consists of Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China. What's going on with India? Are they still fucking mad? India and Iran were going back and forth. Was it Pakistan? They're fucking just getting mad at each other. They're like, shut up. That's like basically what they were saying. They kept getting on the phone with each other, being like, shut up. India, I guess, kind of bowed out of that. I don't know. What's going on with India? Are they still mad? We did get an ad. We did have a company reach out. I'm going to omit the name of the company just because I don't know if it's. I got an ad opportunity from a Chinese electronics manufacturer. They sell phones, unlicensed phones, and they've faced like 6 lawsuits. One of them was from Nokia because they just steal people's shit. But it's a Chinese phone. I don't even think you can buy it in America. But I got a read up. You know what I mean? I got a read opportunity from that company. You know how hard it was for me not to email them back? Do you know how hard that was for me to not do that? But I didn't. The hell was I talking about? Let's jump into some emails. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Let's start with this one from Thomas. Thomas, welcome to the show. Subject line, underrated/forgotten rivalries. Motown Noah, hope all is well. Shows a big boost of morale on my work commute. This past episode, you talked briefly about rivalries, and it got me thinking of some underrated and forgotten rivalries, whether that be fringe ones or just short-lasting. The first one that came to mind was the 2013 to 2015 Seahawks versus 49ers peak Legion of Boom versus Prime Kaepernick and Frank Gore. While these teams have been and still are rivals, it seems like these years are unmatched in terms of if they play, you are dropping everything to watch. When I was young, Packers versus Bucks felt like a huge deal for a short period of time, between maybe 1977 and 2002. If I remember correctly, home teams dominated the matchup when they were division rivals. I think that the home team won every game from 97 to 01, except for like one game. Prime Brett Favre versus one of the best defenses in the league. Present day, Warriors versus Grizzlies, purely because it seems like they hate each other. Maybe this one is more like fringe rivalry. Side note, remember when Iguodala got traded there and refused to play? That might tie into this somehow. Anyway, I would love to get your take on this. I've totally forgotten until I read this email the other day about the Iguodala thing. You nailed that 100%. Is that still, do they still beef, those two teams? Or is that still a problem with them? Doesn't Ja always say a bunch of shit about them? You're definitely right about that. The one that you nailed here is the Legion of Boom versus San Francisco, 100%. And what's going to stick out in most people's minds, including myself, is when Richard Sherman breaks up a pass in the end zone to end the game. Seattle gets the win, and he immediately gets approached by Erin Andrews after the game ends. And she's like, wow, Richard Sherman, that was pretty cool. And before she can even finish the sentence, he rips the mic out. He's like, I'm the best corner in the game. Michael Crabtree fucking sucks. Erin Andrews, I remember that moment on social media when it was like kind of when sports Twitter was kind of in its infancy and like the memes that were generated from that. And because at the time, top text, bottom text memes were still kind of the format. And so it was just a lot of like top text, bottom text memes about the Richard Sherman face talking into a microphone with like Erin Andrews just kind of like turtle heading, being like, I fucking don't want to be here. Damn, that was funny. Who else was on the Seahawks, Legion of Boom? It was like Michael Bennett. That's not Legion of Boom. He was just on the line. But I'm just thinking about the defense in general, right? Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman. Who's another one? There's an Earl Thomas. Oh my God, what a defense that was. And then the 49ers, you said Kaepernick for sure. Like, it sucks that he's a meme at this point and sort of not even became martyred still in 2024. Well, he became martyred, shortly thereafter, but at this point anymore, I think people are just kind of like, oh, we get it. You could totally play in the NFL. He couldn't. I believe that for a few years he still could have, but he just was kind of given the opportunity. Like, he was halfway given the opportunity. I'm still not convinced that wasn't just for the NFL to be like, we fucking tried, right? But hey, nobody wanted to sign. Whatever. I really don't want to open this back up. But he got hoed, and yes, he was good. There was a point in his career where Colin Kaepernick fucking ruled. They had Frank Gore, the longevity machine, also just a machine, period. They had Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree was the one that caught the pass from Graham Harrell, right? When they beat Texas, and it was that insane sideline. He's getting like pulled out of bounds by his jersey to win the game. Texas, I think, was number 1 at the time. I think that would have been Crabtree that caught that pass. You college football nuts out there will know exactly what I'm talking about. I believe that was Crabtree. You had Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis, later in his career, was that when it was? When he caught that touchdown pass and immediately started bawling his fucking eyes out? I don't really remember the circumstances surrounding it, but man, you're 100% right about that. That was a really fun rivalry. What's a different one? How short-lived was this? Well, Pistons Bulls. There's a good. How about the Bad Boys versus the NBA? How about that? How about just the fact that for like 4 years, there was a team that 29 other teams, well, the expansion hadn't happened yet. So what have there been? 27 other teams hated. And it was the Pistons. Yeah. That was fun. More recently, Pistons Pacers. That was a good one. Think about the Malice at the Palace. You think about the Tayshaun block on Reggie Miller. Like the original chase down. People forget that chase down blocks did not start happening until 2004. When Tayshaun Prince had that in Indiana It's like the fourth quarter, and the score is like 45-51. Like, what the fuck is this game? It's crazy to look back on that. It's a good email, though. I appreciate it, brother. Let's jump into a different one. Ooh, here's one that's coming in real time. Landon said, this is hard to watch. That's all. Is Thursday Night Football happening right now? Let's check the score. Thursday Night Football score. The Browns. Oh, the Browns are winning 7-3. I didn't even know who was playing this week. Huh. Let's do this one from Cooper. Cooper, welcome back to the show, brother. Like a true heater that Cooper's been on. Cooper sent in the perspective about Russell Wilson, Freudian slip, Russell Westbrook as a Wizards fan. He was like, I was a Wizards. No, this couldn't have been you. There's no way this would have been you. Cooper, you've been sending in emails recently, though. You sent in one about, doesn't matter. You've been doing good. Let's read your email. Subject line, living vicariously through others as a sports fan. Hey, Nick. Usual email intro stuff here. Over the past year or so, I found myself getting unreasonably invested into the storylines of my friends / loved ones' favorite sports teams as a way of being able to connect with them better. I figured this was totally normal at first, but it has gotten to a point where it almost interferes with my normal fan experience. I follow 10 plus Instagram fan pages of teams I would otherwise have no interest in, and getting unreasonably educated on the lore of franchises of which I have no other reason to. My primary circle consists of a diehard Cleveland guy, a Detroit guy, and a Washington guy. I am now cursed with having a genuine level of care about those cities' sports teams. The Cavs sent my Sixers to 2-9 the other day, and all I did was text my Cleveland friend like, holy shit, 13-0. My Eagles dog-walked the Commanders last Thursday as I watched live with my Washington friend, and I didn't even gloat. I was just like, man, maybe the Rookie of the Year just isn't ready for these matchups yet. Honestly think y'all will get us the second time. I'm going to break the email for a second. I would punch you in the fucking face if you said that to me. If it's your team that just kicked the shit out of my team and you pat me on the back and you're like, you'll get us next time, you're out of my fucking house. That's crazy. You did it in a kind-spirited way. You meant well when you did it, but that's the last thing that somebody wants to hear, especially when it's a fan of the opposing team. But otherwise, I love everything that you're saying so far. So let's get back to the email. My second baseball team, parenthetically the Astros, lost its dynastic ALCS streak to those scrappy-ass Tigers, and I couldn't help but be glad it was to a team with such a good story that my friend supports. Am I robbing myself of natural sports fan emotions by somewhat experiencing sports joy through those close to me, or is it only a win for you? Dog, you have the cheat code. You have the formula here. Like, you don't need to be pressured into what, like, I don't want to be like, what society tells you that how you gotta fucking watch this. No, dude, like, you have it. You have the secret sauce here. You can't lose because you're able to observe things through the correct lens of, hey, this is really cool. That's it. Even when my team loses, who beat us, and narratively, like, what is the weight of that? What's the gravity? What's the consequence of that team winning versus my team losing? Now, it's at some point it's going to hit you. There are definitely moments in your life where, like, your favorite team has lost and there's just been no way for you to spin it. Yeah, that's also just part of being a sports fan, right? But this is you and I are aligned in this way where it's like, I care more about what happens on a narrative level than what actually... what? What am I trying to say there? Like, the differences would be, or rather an example would be, the only way I will rationalize in my head that it's fine that the Lions, if they make it to the Super Bowl, if they lose the Super Bowl, literally the only team that will be palatable to me is Kansas City. So I'll be like, fine, 3 in a row, dynasty. The same way that when the Tigers lost the most recent World Series that they played in, over 10 years ago at this point, to the San Francisco Giants, dog, we were in the middle of a dynasty with the San Francisco Giants where, like, every odd year is what it was, I think. Was it every even year or odd year? The San Francisco Giants won a World Series to start the 2010s. They won like 3 in 5 years, which is sort of the benchmark for a dynasty, right? 3 in 5 years is kind of what you look at. That's how I rationalize that in my head. By the way, that's exactly why I still look back on have I ever mentioned this before? The 2009 Stanley Cup, and I get so fucking mad, was because we lost to a punk-ass team and a punk-ass player in Sidney Crosby. I don't care that he ended up winning like 2 more a couple years later. That still bothers me but what's weird is I've gotten over losing to the Cardinals in 2006. It took a while. It took a long time for me to get over that, but I did. The Pistons, what's like the most hurt that I've ever been over a loss? I don't know if there's really been one. The last time we went to the playoffs, we got smacked by Milwaukee. It was Blake's last year here. Or, well, it was Blake's first full season here. But it was just like last year really being Blake Griffin. We lost in 4 games to Milwaukee. You knew what was going to happen. You just wanted to win one was all that it was. You wanted to get gentlemen swept. You wanted a 5-game series. Man, we didn't get it. I think you seriously have the secret sauce here, dude. There's nothing wrong with this. Honestly, it means you're a pretty good friend. I know I gave you shit at the beginning of this, but it's also like you're getting invested in their interests in a way that like you're really getting in the weeds on their behalf so that in some way, even if you didn't mean it in this way, like psychologically, you're able to connect better with them because when your friend doesn't give a fuck about Jalen Hurts and actually hates him, you can be like, well, yeah, but Jaden Daniels fucking QBR and like his scramble rate and his average air yards per completion, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like as long as it's not right after your team beat his team, I stand by that being insane. Insane. If you texted me that, blocked. I already don't text that many people back. I'm the king of just like on iPhone, you just do the reactions. Leave somebody a nice little like. Give them a ha-ha. Give them a heart. Now you can do full-blown emojis, the newest iOS update. Haven't done that too much, but I've dabbled with it a little bit. I'm the king of just like liking your text. You know that I saw it. My receipts are on, so you'll know that I saw it. The reason that I leave them on, which I don't really care about this anymore, but when I was younger, it was because if I was going to ignore somebody, I wanted them to know that I was ignoring them. Now I just have them on because it's like, I don't care. You know, I'm just going to give you a nice little like and we're going to move on. So speaking of moving on, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. A lot of you guys wanted me to weigh in on Kevin Durant funding the war in Israel. I guess some tweets surfaced. An old article from Nets Daily surfaced that went over all of the investments that his firm made. He's part of an investment group. Is it Boardroom that made the investments? And one of them was, at the time, like a startup drone company. And those drones have since been contracted to like do surveillance in Israel. Or rather in like the Gaza Strip. And so now people are like, has he divested from that company? Do we know that yet? The article was 4 years old. Or is it just funnier to be like Kevin Durant funding the war in Israel? Wow, impressed. Or not so much, actually. Let's do this one from Landon. Landon, welcome back to the show. Landon, did I call you an asshole in the last episode? Or was it a different Landon? Called someone an asshole in the last episode. Hope that wasn't you, because this is a good email. Subject line, did success ruin Detroit sports? Hey, Nick. I, as you are, am a lifelong Detroit sports and Michigan State fan. But lately, after the Lions became the best team in the NFL and U of M won the Natty, I realized that Detroit sports circles, whether it's comment sections, talk shows, podcasts, articles, etc., have become a lot more pessimistic about everything but the Lions. Michigan State fans saw what U of M did and are now overly pessimistic about a rebuild happening that will take time. U of M fans are no longer content with anything less than what they've had the past 3 years. The Tigers went on a crazy run to end last year, and fans are still upset about the organization less than a month into the offseason. Pistons fans are getting way more pissed off after a loss than excited after a win. And Red Wings fans are getting more and more impatient with Yzerman's Yzer plan, quote unquote. So my question is this. Is it normal for one team's success to hurt other teams who may not be as successful in their same city? Or is this just because we as Detroit fans forgot what it was like to cheer for a successful team and now don't want to go back to reality with our other teams? I think this is a really interesting way to frame it and to pose the question. I actually don't know if they're that related, though. Because if you just take it case by case, right? Okay, well, Michigan sucks because not only did they lose Harbaugh, they lost the orchestrator of the whole damn thing, Connor Stallions. But they also lost like everybody good on their team. Like they still had some pieces on defense. They still had like Donovan Edwards, but like quarterback especially, their wide receiver room, not that great. And so that just was never going to work. The expectations were always like, it was kind of like when TCU had that trap game against Colorado to open last season. It was like, oh, I don't know. They just came off of losing in the national championship game. Like, oh, this is going to be a tough game for Colorado. Like, fucking really wasn't, though. On paper, it might have been. It really wasn't, though. Michigan was always going to suck this year. I agree that people are getting impatient with the whole Michigan State thing. The amount of texts that I get every weekend about being like, yeah, Michigan. Dog, even being at the Ohio State game, people being like, Aiden Childs cannot continue to be this team's quarterback. I'm like, first of all, you're playing one of the best defenses in the country. Second of all, we don't have an offensive line. Third of all, the kid at the time was still 18. So I give myself credit because I've actually stayed firm in the camp of like, no, he has the whole year to fuck around and figure it out. Because like, it would be really nice to win 6 games this year, but like, it's just not going to happen. At this point, can it even happen? So like, whatever. But I agree with you that people are getting antsy. Jonathan Smith didn't have that much time to like work in the portal or like really do anything. He just kind of got here. The Tigers, I will actually side with some people that it was fun that they made the run that they did because through it all, they still sucked. They just got really hot. The team was not good. They had no bats at all. Shout out to Skubal, by the way, officially winning the American League. Cy Young won the Triple Crown this year, won Cy Young. Pitched fucking gems in the playoffs. I'm not even mad at him for how that last Cleveland game went. The Grand Slam, well, yeah, my blood just kind of boiled a little bit. I guess I'm not over that. But I don't blame him for it. We just didn't have any bats. We just didn't have anything going on. And the reason that people are preemptively mad or just like, you know what I mean? It's because we're not going to do anything. We're just not. We're going to run it back. And Scott Harris is going to be like twiddling his thumbs, being like, oh, go get fucking Alex Bregman or something. I don't know. Make something happen. Go get like Teoscar Hernandez. Go like anything. Go do something. I just don't believe that they will. And that's not me being, if you asked me this 2 months ago, I would have said that. It's not even being like we're a month in and they haven't done anything, like poking him with a stick, like, come on, do something. It's not even that. Like, I just don't believe that they will. The Red Wings, yeah. Yeah. Red Wings fans are in like purgatory right now. They cannot make heads or tails of this. They're like, wait, we thought we'd be Tampa Bay by now. We thought we would be Steve Yzerman's Tampa Bay right now. And that just hasn't materialized yet. It started to at the end of last season, and then so far it just kind of hasn't. People love Casper or they hate Casper. I don't know what's going on with him. The Pistons, people do. You nailed your assessment of that. I actually don't have any notes there. But what's consistent throughout all of that is people fucking love the Lions. I just don't think it's a comparative thing. I just think that they're excited. I don't know really how to make the point. I just think case by case, which maybe is sort of everything that I just said in and of itself is kind of making the point the overall point that I should be making. Because what you said here was whether it's comment sections, talk shows, podcasts, articles, etc., every vertical there, every medium that you mentioned is designed to piss people off, right? It's the rage machine. Every single one of these things, especially the talk shows and the podcasts and the articles, are meant to create this sense of existential dread to farm your melodrama and to farm your engagement. So it's, you know what sells is being like, this team fucking stinks and they're never going to figure it out. It actually doesn't always work the opposite way. So I think it just is more of a reflection of the media that you consume. And I don't mean you specifically here, Landon, but also a little bit, right? Especially if you're looking at comment sections. Show me a comment section that is like overwhelmingly positive. That has to do with sports, by the way. Especially if you go on Reddit, find a positive subreddit. I don't know. The Lions is actually pretty positive. The Lions is pretty positive. I don't know if they're all that related, though. Let's do a different email. Was there one in here that I wanted to do? Did I want to do this one? We'll save that for Monday. How about this one? How about this one from Brian? Look, it has occurred to me that every once in a while, I already mentioned this today, that for a few episodes in a row, there will be a thing that we just keep fucking talking about. We just keep getting emails about this thing. It won't go away. Most recently, it's Philly sports. Previously, in the past, it had been the grizzly bear versus a gorilla. Talked about that one for a while, like maybe a full calendar month. that we talked about that. Which, by the way, I would still take the gorilla, and I would not even think about it. And now, apparently, it's celebrity etiquette. What you should and should not say to famous people if you, by happenstance, cross paths with them. This one comes into us from Brian. Brian, welcome back to the show. Subject line, how to treat famous people IRL featuring Deshaun Watson. And then parenthetically, in all caps, you said redemption email. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is that you are reading this, Mr. Hinkle. You did spell my last name wrong, so the redemption is off to a strong start, Brian, but I won't hold that one against you. Let's get these takes off. Back to the email. Longtime viewer of the show, second-time emailer, and a delusional Cleveland sports fan. My first email was a dud of a prediction. I was trying to convince you that JJ Redick was going to be the Cavs coach going into the season. Glad that didn't happen in retrospect. Kenny Atkinson, the Silicon Valley Lizard, is that guy. Putting all that aside, I'm currently watching episode 102 of The Coping Hour right now, and you are wondering which celebrity it would be okay to be rude to in person. You stated that Osama bin Laden and maybe Roger Goodell. I did strike Roger Goodell from the list, by the way, but I did say bin Laden. But oh boy, do I have a name for you. Deshaun Watson. If you saw Deshaun Watson walking right past you in person and you had to ask him or tell him anything, what would it be? Surely it wouldn't be something positive, would it? I know you would probably ignore him if you saw him walking right past you, but in this scenario I made up for you, you have to say something to him or else you die. What would you say to that man? I'm extremely curious to know. Hope this email somehow makes it in the show. It did. You said that your dream is for me to acknowledge you. Here we are, brother. Brian. If you see Deshaun Watson walking down the street, I don't know if this is the hill that I want to die on. Don't fucking say anything to him. Because if you're going to tell me, Nick, he's an abuser, he's a sex pest, he's a fucking predator, what, am I not supposed to say anything to him? Yeah. Because, what do you want to say to him? Because anything that you would say would just, be for you. Because if you're like, no, I'm doing it for the victims, I'm doing it for the women, go fucking donate to a women's shelter, brother. Go volunteer. Seriously, go, listen to victims or something like that. Because to me, this is and a lot of people said Deshaun Watson. It was not just this guy, right? But to me, it's this culture of kids who have grown up and known nothing but the internet and nothing but the performance of existing in digital spaces, where at any given moment, your thoughts have to exist and they will exist in perpetuity. You have to comment on everything. There has to be a commentary on everything. It's people don't know when to shut the fuck up. And again, I realize that we're talking about Deshaun fucking Watson here, the guy who put up Bill Cosby numbers in terms of sexually assaulting women. Some of the accounts are horrendous. But if you saw him in person, what, are you going to spit on him and call him a rapist? Does that make you feel better? Fine, do it. Go ahead, do it. I don't care. What would I say to him? Hey, you wore a Revo Speed and then switched to a Speed Flex, but the face mask was different. It wasn't just the standard quarterback one. The way that it sat on your head was weird. What did you do to it? What the fuck did you bang into this helmet with a fucking mallet? What is this? Shout out to Ryan Mallett. What's he up to these days? Is he dead? He wouldn't be dead. Stick to Deshaun Watson, Nick. Yeah, I don't know. If I had to say, you want me to say something mean to Deshaun Watson? Clemson sucks. Clemson sucks. I hate Clemson. If you're orange, you suck. Oh my God, dude. I saw something the other day. I'm sitting here with my son, and we're just hanging out, just listening to some Charlie XCX, like we always do. It's nighttime. I look out the window for our Chicago friends out there, for those local in Chicago. We live right by the McCormick Center. McCormick Place is right outside, convention center, big convention center, right outside. And I see something. You know what? I'm gonna play the clip.
Reporting live. We got a drone show. Can you see that? Can you see that? It's a drone show. That's insane. It's just drones.
It was a digital billboard. It was drones doing a billboard right above Lakeshore. That's all that it was. It sat there and it spun around and it did a 360 for like 10 minutes. And for those of you who couldn't watch the actual video and you know what I'm showing on the screen, it said Protect E5 Mimecast. You're like, what the hell is that? I think it's a Microsoft like subscription email service, and it does a really efficient job of filtering out spam and shit like that, I think is what it is. And there's a Microsoft conference happening right now at McCormick Place, and so that's why. But I was like, it's crazy that this technology there's already civilian implication for it. It's like, sure, we see drone shows all the time, but like using it as like a billboard, like above Lakeshore of all places. Like, this is a really distracting place. There's a lot of drivers there. It's a really distracting place. There's like a lot of intersections and shit, like people getting on and off Lakeshore. Like, there's a lot of, I don't know, it seems like a really dangerous place to put it. But it's like bobbing up and down. What is this? But we cover all the biggest stories. We cover them from all angles. Very seldom do those stories happen right on my doorstep. Very seldom do they happen just right outside. But folks, in this instance, that is exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So, folks, if you are listening to this on Spotify, which some of you would be, and in the previous episode, I asked you for, what was the question I asked you? Some horse shit. Oh, I asked you what your favorite cereal was. You guys were very nice in participating in that. The one guy who was like double chocolate crave, whew, it's the one cereal that I can't eat because it's too sweet. Like, it's real life too much chocolate. I had it once. I was like, I can never eat this again. I can't do this. So shout out to that guy, because you have the palate of a coal miner. The guy probably loves hot sauce. What's a better question for you? Can you tell me a positive interaction that you had with a famous person? How about that? And if you haven't, everybody out there listening to this has had at least a C-list celebrity. A G-list, I don't care who it is. It could be a local celebrity. What's a positive interaction that you had? This is a marginally better question for you guys. A little bit better. YouTube Wrapped starting to come out for people. Starting to see you guys listen to, which I love, by the way. When Spotify Wrapped happens, please screenshot it and send it to me. I'm curious to know, like, who's the top 1% of the Coping Hour constituency. I'm curious to see. One guy sent in, he's listened to for over 3,000 minutes, which is about 50 hours, about 50 full episodes. You know, I know most people don't make it to the full episode. They just sort of use the timestamps to their advantage, which is what the timestamps are there for. That doesn't bother me at all. But I love seeing that. I also love seeing what other shows you guys listen to. But don't jump the horse. That's going to be a question for a different day. What other podcasts you guys listen to? There was one guy he sent in, and I was like number maybe 3 on the list for him. And it was Matt and Shane's secret podcast, the Matt McCusker, that's his last name, and Shane Gillis podcast. That was number 1 for him. Okay, yeah. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm a guy. I think Shane Gillis is funny. Number 2 was, I don't remember what it was. And then I was in there, and then Pardon My Take was in there. Joe Rogan was in there, and then a different Barstool, like a Barstool Chicago show. So it's just a different Barstool show. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So one day I will, you guys can let me know now, but I will ask in a more formal way what you guys listen to. Maybe I'll compile the data and see what the consistencies are in terms of what shows you guys listen to once more YouTube Wraps hit my inbox and Spotify Wrapped and whatnot. So, folks, if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. Let me know in the comments a positive interaction you had with a famous person. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Primary control kind of been showing up at my door a lot lately. I'm fucking tired of that. So if you guys could keep that guy in check, that would be optimal. And I will catch you guys in the next one.